All right, James, I have Armie Hammer news for you.
Okay,
to start the show with.
All right.
Yeah. So, apparently, Armie Hammer is moving back to California, or he has moved back to California.
That's what I heard.
Because he was living in the Cayman Islands.
Yep, selling real estate, something like that.
Yeah, he was like doing real estate or bartending or something like that, something to that nature.
Oh, I know what he was doing, selling those pyramid schemes.
Ah,
yeah,
that's what he was up to. Okay, well, anyway, he's back from doing that. He's moving back to California. And the headline from Hollywood Reporter is, Armie Hammer says he's selling his truck because he can't afford gas.
That's weird.
The actor returned to Los Angeles after retreating to the Cayman Islands following allegations of cannibalism and sexual abuse. Just Hollywood's... What would you call him? Because I feel like he's such wasted potential.
He was always supposed to be in all these different movies and different things.
I mean, Warner Brothers was constantly like throwing him roles. They were like, hey, you want to be Green Lantern? You want to be Batman? You want to be Booster Gold probably at one point? Like,
he'll be Superman too.
Yeah,
and
Superman.
Batman.
They wanted him for whatever kind of role they could get him in. Like he was up there. He was one of the most desired actors for a little while.
He's a handsome guy, so you know.
Yeah. And I think he was like, what, Lone Ranger?
Well, yeah. Then that's where it kind of took a hit. That's where his career took a hit.
That's where it took the hit?
Yeah, that's where it took the hit.
That was the beginning of the end for him?
Movie-wise, anyway.
Movie-wise. But, yeah, that's the little bit of Armie Hammer news I got for you. Is I guess he's moving back to California and he's selling his truck. I guess he did an interview with somebody recently where he was talking about his truck and, you know, all the allegations that happened to him.
Yeah, because the last time I heard from Armie Hammer was it was a couple years ago, and he was in, like you said, in the Cayman Islands. He was selling those little pyramid schemes.
Like,
those time fortunes, timeshares. That's what he's doing. Yeah, which is still a pyramid scheme. But that's what he was doing. And from some of the people that were there, they were saying like, no, he's a pretty nice guy. He was nice and talkative. You know, he wasn't mean or combative. Mm-hmm. He's pretty normal. You know? Yeah,
I mean, I don't think in public he's a bad dude. It was
Probably
behind
not.
closed doors where he was doing all the weird stuff.
Which is this? I mean, to this day, we still don't know. We still don't know. It's such a weird story. Yeah, it's such a very weird story.
I mean, there was that whole documentary that came out about him.
Yeah, it was
Oil Tycoon.
Yeah,
it's just Nepo Kid or whatever.
God, man.
So anyway, the article goes, in a June interview, Hammer revealed that he's grateful for the allegations that upended his career 3 years ago. Whatever it was that people said, whatever it was that happened, I'm now at a place in my life where I'm grateful for every single bit of it. He said it on an episode of the Painful Lessons podcast. Don't know who hosts that. I'm actually now at a place where I'm really grateful for it because where I was in my life before all of that stuff happened to me, I didn't feel good. I never felt satisfied. I never had enough. I never was in a place where I was happy with myself, which, you know, when you're debating cannibalism and doing some sketchy things with women, you're probably not the best time of your life going on.
I kind of want to know more stories about this cannibalism situation.
Yeah, I think he was like talking about wanting to eat people. Like some of the girls in the documentary were talking about like text messages he would send.
Jesus.
And it was like a subtle like fascination of like, I kind of want to try human. Like stuff like that.
Got tired of eating meat, huh?
Yeah. Well, you know, human's the most desirable meat.
Yeah.
He also says, this is my truck. I bought this for myself in 2017 as a Christmas gift because I've had pickup trucks for a long time and I have loved this truck intensely and taken it camping across the country multiple times and on long road trips.
You don't have gas.
Since being back in LA, I have put about $400 to $500 worth of gas in it and I can't afford it. I can't afford the gas anymore. So there you go.
That makes no sense. Why the hell would you move back to a city that you know you can't afford to live in?
Well, I mean, it's California, right? Like he's a movie star, so obviously California. He probably still had the home. You know, he probably just ran off to the Cayman Islands for a little bit and then kind of figured he laid low long enough and then
do you think he'll get back in Hollywood again?
You know, I mean, nobody's ever really truly canceled forever, right? I think.
Ask Brad Pitt.
Brad Pitt's canceled?
He should be.
What?
He should be.
What did he do? He's in the movies.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem. But I digress. And I love Brad Pitt. But, you know, it's kind of funny how you see some people get away with different things in life.
Are we actively?
And you wonder why. And you wonder why so many people get upset about other situations. I will admit that. I will admit that.
There's some child abuse allegations from 2023.
Yeah. And that's just stuff that's been out there. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's very weird to me.
I mean, what did he do? Is it?
Well, there was a report of abusive situations from Angelina Jolie herself.
Mm-hmm.
Her kids also distanced themselves from him as well. And the report of, like I say, the allegations of beating kids as well. And there's also some more horrific stuff that's in there. And I'm just like, it's just kind of weird how he still skates by. No one seems to be upset. No one seems to be throwing the tantrum about it. But when it came to anybody else of a lower status, people seem to go crazy a lot more. So it's just, that is interesting. It's weird. It's very interesting. You know, he's been able to do countless endless movies since those documents came out. And it's just always been weird to me.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard about Brad Pitt being in trouble for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, has he gone to court? Has anything actually
other than divorce? Legally? Other than divorce, that's already been there.
So maybe that's why. Maybe because there hasn't been actual court cases and documents. Because in the Jonathan Majors situation,
true,
there was court cases. There was whole litigation behind it. Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
True,
litigation.
But sometimes it feels like even when there's no court, people are so quick to act so quickly and just get rid of you just like that.
Yeah, that is a fair assumption.
You know, it's just, I don't know. I digress.
Yeah.
I digress.
Maybe because he's just a quiet person in general. Like, Brad Pitt's not overly, on social media, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right? So he's not really out there like that. So, some of the cases that we hear about is because they're normally one or two people in the situation are just, out there.
Yeah.
Or they're putting the stuff online. It's very vocal. Or it's at a high point of their career. Brad Pitt's been famous forever. There's no high point for him to be in anymore. He's kind of plateaued, right? Yeah. Jonathan Majors was at a major high point. He was getting all these roles. He was doing all these things. He was going to be king for the next 5 or 10 years of Marvel.
Yep.
I mean, he was doing Army commercials. That was the high point for him. And then it just came crashing down really quickly, which is why it's more noticeable. So perhaps the point of fame you're in has to do with the more notoriety behind these darker things.
Oh yeah, that definitely plays a part into it.
Because I think, Armie Hammer, even when the stuff about Armie Hammer came out, he wasn't even at a high point of his career.
No, he never was.
Yeah, I don't think he ever really reached that. I mean, he was sought out by Warner Brothers a lot, but I'm not really sure how big of a career he actually had. I've always heard his name thrown around for certain roles, but he kept turning them down. Mm-hmm. And I think that actually got him in trouble with Warner Brothers, because Warner Brothers was eventually just all right, look, if you're not going to take our role, we're just not going to work with you ever again.
It's just totally fine with me.
Yeah. So he never got to get to that high point.
Yeah.
So we only know him because in the comic book movie world, he was highly sought out.
True.
So interesting takes, interesting thoughts. I never really thought about Brad Pitt like that. I mean, you're right. It is strange that he kind of skirts by.
Because, when most time when you hear people make a stink about anything, the little minute situation,
right? People
go crazy. They go nuclear on the situation. But like you said, maybe because it's quiet.
Yeah.
He keeps to himself.
Yeah.
But hey,
who knows? Maybe at one point he'll be in the crosshairs at some point, and then then everything will start coming out. There's going to be a documentary. I don't know. Something will come out of it. Something will come out at some point. On the go. We're getting arrested with Jacob and James.
Are you weak? Fat? Do you feel more like the cowardly lion from The Wizard of Oz instead of the king of the African savannah? Are you tired of striking out with members of the opposite sex, or men who dress like members of the opposite sex? Do you feel stuck in a rut at work, or are you lacking the drive to pursue your dreams? Well, my name is Joel. You might know me from the Joel and the Monkey Show. I'm here today to tell you how you can be more confident, more assertive, and more attractive, and more of a man. I'm not here to sell you some book. I know you can't read. And I'm not here to tell you some self-help BS like, hey, go see a therapist and work on being more stable and more well-rounded as a person. That's for women. And I'm sure as hell not going to do what all these other gurus tell you. Like, hey, go eat a moose kidney, go do 1,000 push-ups every day, or go visit a third world country to be more of a man. No, I'm going to tell you right here, right now, for free, the secret from going from zero to someone's hero. You want to know what that secret is? A claymore sword. Claymore swords have been used by European men from medieval times to present day. Hell, even Vikings used claymore swords. And those guys are real men. In fact, during World War II, Nazi soldiers would run like scared little girls in fear anytime they saw a man with a claymore sword, and for good reason. Having a claymore sword will make you more confident in your manhood, help you build a robust social life, destroy any obstacles keeping you from success, and it will improve your sex life, because women love a man with a sword. Don't believe me? I used to be a wuss just like you, until my father gave me a claymore sword at the age of 7. That's when I went from being a boy to a man. And sure, maybe I have this deep black void in my heart that I feel can never be filled. And no matter how hard I try, I just feel like everything I'm doing, it's all for nothing. And yeah, you know, maybe my kids hate me. My wife left. They all think I'm a horrible person. But you know what? Life is filled with haters. With a claymore sword, you don't have to be afraid of nothing and no one. I'm not even afraid of nature. Other people may run when they see wild animals. Me, I welcome them into my house with open arms. That's why I do a podcast with a monkey. And that's why you need to stop being a wuss and start being a man. What are you waiting for? Go buy a claymore sword right now. Stop standing around. Stop procrastinating. Stop whining. Get that claymore sword, and it will change your life.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads.
Can you guess?
I'm going to guess it is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's Back to the Future.
It is Back to the Future, sir. I had an opportunity. I don't know if I would call it opportunity. I had some time to myself recently.
Okay.
And for one, I don't know what to do by myself anymore. Like, because I'm always used to just like being around with like Khadidra, or, you know, if I do have some time to myself, it's like an hour or two.
Yeah.
But I had like a few hours by myself, and that's when I'm just like, oh, I don't know what I like to do anymore. I was looking on Netflix, and they had the Back to the Future trilogy on there. Yep. And I have the Back to the Future trilogy on Blu-ray. It's like a special edition box set thing that I have, but it was on Netflix. So I was like, oh, you know what? I haven't seen these in forever. Let me take a look at these. And, you know, everybody's got their trilogy, I feel like.
True. You
got your Star Wars trilogies. You got your Lord of the Rings trilogies. You got your Matrix trilogy people. Yep. I don't really like Star Wars. Like it's not my trilogy because, for one, there's 3 of them, and the fan base kind of sucks. Oh,
yeah, the fan base sucks big time. I totally understand why you cast it out.
Lord of the Rings isn't it for me because Lord of the Rings is boring. It puts me to sleep.
Me too, man. I you know what? I can do a whole conversation about that. Yeah, I've never been a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Khadidra, I think she asked me the other day because she saw some Lord of the Rings TikTok or whatever. She's like, oh, do we need to watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy? And I was like, absolutely not. Those are the most boring movies you will ever watch.
I totally 100% agree.
So, Lord of the Rings is out. Matrix, again, never really got into the Matrix too much.
Me either.
And it's one of those movies where I've heard about so much that it's like, okay, I get the story.
Now, the first one's good. The first one, because, you know, it broke down.
The first one's always good, right?
It's classic.
Yeah.
You know.
So, and then that fourth one, it was like kind of a parody of itself because it turned out they didn't even want to like make it.
Even the Matrix fans didn't even like it.
Yeah. Because it was just, I don't know, it was weird. Anyway, Back to the Future is it for me, I think. I like Back to the Future. I like how it's put together.
Really?
Yeah, I like how everything, I like how it all connects. Obviously, it's cool because I haven't seen these movies in so long, but like the end of the movie is the beginning of the next. Like it really is just like back to back. Like I think overall, without all the time travel stuff, the course of the film takes place in like what, maybe a day or two when you really think about it.
Yeah, somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Marty's stuck in the past and in the future and in the West for like a few days at a time, but like in the actual timeline, really it's like only a day.
True. Yeah, you got a point. Yeah. You know what? Because I know the first one, when he goes to the 50s, I think the 50s or was it 60s?
It was the 50s.
The 50s.
1955.
It only happened it only happened over the course of 3 days.
Yeah, it's like 3 or 2. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah, at least 3 or 2.
Yeah.
And then the second one, he goes back to the future. He goes back, he goes to the future.
To
see his future self.
Yeah.
That only happens in one day.
Yeah, it happens very quick.
It happens,
It's funny because I remember the second one being so much about the future that it's really not even it's a portion of the film. It's where like the main plot kind of kicks off. But a lot of the film still takes place in the 1950s. They go back to the 50s. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, oh, I didn't realize like how much of this actually isn't in the future.
Yep.
Right? Like they go to the future for a little bit, things get screwy, and then they mess up the present, so they have to go back to the past. I don't know. And then like I'm watching the second movie, and I'm noticing like all these references to the West.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, they must have been really planning like the Wild West like sequel, because they keep dropping these things. And then the end of the movie is like a trailer for the next movie, which I found out came out 6 months later. They filmed them back to back.
They filmed them back to back, yep.
Yeah. And I started watching the third one, and I haven't finished the third one. And the third one is like the lower of the movies.
Of course, yeah. The third one is always going to be the lower one.
Yeah.
But as a whole, I still love this trilogy. But
Such a great trilogy.
But the third one is just like, okay.
Yeah. It's funny because like watching it now after the existence of like Rick and Morty, and knowing that this was kind of an inspiration for Rick and Morty, or like they're a parody of Rick and Morty, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm watching this and I'm like, oh, I get it, because the Doc really is. The Doc is just Captain Exposition in these damn movies. He's just rambling on about whatever, and then Marty just kind of takes it in. And another thing I like about these movies, or the beginning of the movie, they don't ever say how Marty knows Doc.
Never. You never find that out.
Marty just knows him.
Just knows this old guy.
Yeah. But I gather that, like, because of the events of the first movie, Doc just kind of sought him out, around the same time.
Yeah.
Potentially. I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell because...
I mean, sometimes it's good not to know how the sausage is made. So you kind of like, it keeps it a mystery.
You're right, yeah.
But I kind of would like to know, how did these two ever meet? Because in the first one, you just see Marty in his... I think he was in his garage or at Doc's.
He was at Doc's.
He was at Doc's.
Because he was like plugging up a guitar to like a super amp. Yeah.
What the hell are we doing?
Right? It's like
what creepy stuff is this?
It's funny because like Marty's not really like a science geek.
He's not.
He's not really into science. I mean, he's into science that the Doc teaches, I suppose. But even like the townspeople are like, oh, you're hanging out with that crazy doctor guy? Like, he's not even a well-respected member of society. He's just like, oh, it's that loony doctor.
He's a loony doctor.
Yeah. And so it's interesting. And then it's also another thing that's kind of cool about the second movie is that like you find out Marty's future doesn't really get better, right? He's still a slacker. Like that's part of his flaws is like, even though you went on this crazy time travel adventure, like the future you still screw up.
Well, he's easy to bait.
Yeah.
He's easy to get into fights.
Yeah.
He's easy to get like,
because you call him chicken.
Yeah. No, you're right. I'm glad you really saw this. I'm glad you really saw
I mean, I've seen the series before. It's just,
you have?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's just like, I haven't seen them in so long.
Did you notice the cameos?
Which cameos?
In Back to the Future, as a whole. So I can't tell you a cameo for the third one, so I'll leave that alone.
All right, well, tell me about the first and second.
But the first and second one, the first one had, I don't know if you ever heard of well, God, now am I flaking out on this name? He did the song for Back to the Future.
Huey Lewis in the News.
Huey Lewis in the News. Yeah, he's in there. He's actually the guy that was doing the little talent, like trying to find out for the talent show. Mm-hmm. And he was one of the guys. He had the glasses on and the suit.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I said, that's funny. Wow, that's cool. Billy Zane is also in the second one. He plays one of the villains, one of the henchmen.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
The bitches group of.
I noticed his name.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed his name on there. Also, I like Biff's like minions.
Biff's minions are crazy.
They're such goons.
Oh yeah,
especially in like the second one when it shows like the messed up future.
Mm-hmm.
You got the one guy with the 3D glasses, and then like one guy's a cowboy. They're just and they walk like all goonish.
Oh, it's definitely
straight goons.
It fits that time. It definitely fits the time.
Yeah.
You didn't realize how bad Biff was. Biff was a horrible person.
Yeah, all of Biff's.
Yeah,
like old Biff, young Biff, grandson Biff.
Like he tried
Western
to
Biff.
He sexually harassed Marty's mom.
Yeah.
Like he grabbed her dress. I was
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
Then he tried to sexually harass her again at the end of the night.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy's horrible.
And then the messed up future Biff killed Marty's dad.
Killed Marty's dad.
I guess forcibly marries Marty's mom, makes her get plastic surgery, and then just like holds the kid's like inheritance over her head the whole time.
I was like, this guy's crazy.
Yeah, and then Western Biff is, crazy outlaw, mad dog.
Oh yeah, mad dog.
Yeah. And you know what's funny about that though? Is the guy who plays Biff is a really nice guy and a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
And like I went down a deep rabbit hole of like Biff's actor, Tom Wilson.
Yep, that's him.
Because he's got like a YouTube channel, he does like these vlogs that he puts together, and like the way he puts them together is like interesting because at some points he just kind of like tells a story about a certain area he's walking in, and then it's like edited together to like show him doing, I don't know, like making pudding and eating pudding, and then like he tells like another story of another thing. Very interesting blog channel he's got going on. Yeah,
didn't know that. I'm gonna have to check that out.
Yeah,
okay.
And I found like some of his old comedy bits, and so he has a song about Biff.
Really?
Yeah, I'm gonna play it for you.
When I'm flying in a plane or I'm on the street, there's a lot of famous people that I like to meet. They shake my hand and never ask my name, and they start asking questions that are always the same. Hey, what's Michael J. Fox like? He's nice. What's Michael J. Fox like? Nice guy. What's Michael J. Fox like? He's an alien. Stop asking me the question. I went to the bar mitzvah of my nephew Josh. Now I'm not Jewish, but I like to nosh. Put on my yarmulke, started to pray. When the rabbi leaned over and I heard him say, hey, was that real manure? No, it wasn't. Was that real manure? No. Was that real manure? It's a movie. Stop asking me the question. Can we take your picture? Come on, look mean. Would you call my friend a butthead on his answering machine? Hey, questions, just fill my head. I went to my doctor said, hey, what does a key grip do? Set up lights. What does the best boy do? Help the key grip. What does a producer do? I don't know. Stop asking me the question. Do you all hang out together? No, we don't. How's Crispin Glover? Never talk to him. Back to the Future 4. Not happening. Stop asking me the question. Hey, who's the nicest famous guy you know? Adam Sandler. Who is the biggest jerk? Gary Busey. How much money do you make? More than you do. So stop asking me the question. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Oh, that's hilarious. I like that.
It's such a good song, right?
Yeah, that's classic, man. That's a good way of putting that, because you get that all the time with when you do cult classic movies.
Yeah.
And you get sought out on the streets, and they ask you to be this person and act like this person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
And I looked up his filmography. His filmography, he hasn't really done a whole lot.
Nah.
More after Back. I mean, he's done a lot more after Back to the Future, but like bigger roles. Like Back to the Future is his biggest stuff.
Oh yeah.
He does a lot of voices though. He does like a bunch of like voice work in cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
So
I know Patrick. He did like a Patrick show.
Yeah, he did like some kind of Patrick show with SpongeBob, and I think he voices like some things in Pixar or like Disney. Atlantis, yeah, he was somebody in Atlantis.
And that darn cat, I do remember him in that darn cat.
Yeah.
So yeah, he doesn't get that much credit, man. Chris, obviously the two main leads are amazing.
Yeah.
But for him to be able to play all Biffs, through all the futures,
right?
That's pretty cool.
It is cool. I mean, Marty plays all Martys, and
True.
Doc has like the different Docs or whatever. But I mean, that's the easiest role
but that's
for him.
easy,
They all
though.
look the same.
They all look the same.
Yeah. I mean, even Marty's people, like up until Seamus McFly.
Yeah.
Marty just looked different in each timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So
I forgot about Crispin Glover.
Yeah. I mean, he still does stuff, though.
Does he?
Yeah, I think he still works.
I haven't seen that guy in ages,
I mean, smaller roles, probably like more independent films and stuff.
At that interview,
I think he's still out there.
At that interview he had on, that was David Letterman.
Oh, yeah? Oh.
He scared the hell out of a lot of people.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I remember he was in that movie Willard about those rats.
Oh, I remember Willard. That was a weird.
I never saw it.
I never got to see it either, but that's another like movies from my childhood that was like kind of creepy, but I've always been curious about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's a remake, ain't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it is. But yeah, man, I mean, Back to the Future, I just kind of explored, and it's a great trilogy because they're not gonna do any more.
Yeah.
Like they have it in their contract. Like, hey, there's no more Back to the Futures.
It can never be done again. That's why you always see it in like Ready Player One. You see it like sprinkled in different future movies.
Yeah.
Because it's a Robert Zemeckis, it's Steven Spielberg film. Because Amblin is over it. His company was over it.
Right.
And Robert
Zemeckis was behind it.
It was behind it.
I'm going to double check that Back to the Future 4 fact before we continue.
Oh, you can. Well, but they definitely can't make another one, though. That'll never happen.
That's what I don't think.
I always get weirded out about who was supposed to play Marty McFly. I was like,
that other guy?
Man. Yeah, that's just like, there's a world, like in Flash, when Ezra Miller was like, there's a world where Michael J. Fox doesn't play Marty. There's a world. And I kind of thought about that. I was like, ooh, it kind of just makes my skin crawl a little bit just thinking about it. I was like, man, that's crazy.
The guys behind the original movies, Robert Zemeckis and Bob Gale, have been very clear. They don't want to make another one. Zemeckis has said multiple times that there will never be a fourth movie. Gale also feels the same, believing that the story is perfectly wrapped up in the third film. So that doesn't really confirm that, like, in the contracts or whatever. But I think it was stated before, like, they had something when they set up these movies. They're like, we're the only ones who make them.
Yeah.
Like, no one's going to buy the rights. They might exclusively own the rights. Honestly.
Oh, but without a doubt, because like I said, when you see it, it's usually on a Steven Spielberg production.
Yeah.
You know.
So I think that's what it is. There was a video game. Telltale did a video game for Back to the Future.
I know. Yeah.
It was like one of those like choose your own adventure types. And that's the closest to a fourth movie you're going to get because it is off after the third movie. Like the story in that one. And I think there's been some other like comic books or like some other like media that's come out that's been set after the third.
Yeah, I mean, they had the video game, they had the cartoon.
Yeah, so it's like unofficial sequels.
Yeah.
Right? But for the most part, there's not going to be another one. They're not going to remake it.
No.
I don't think you can remake it.
You can't remake that.
I mean, because what are you going to do? You're going to do 2005 to 1975 and 2035.
I mean, are you going to
Because you can't do 2015.
No,
we know
you
what
can't
2015
do that.
looks like.
Yeah. I would say like to the 1990s.
Yeah. That's not far off from the original setting anyway. 1985 was the original.
And you know what? How about they have Eric Stoltz this time playing it?
Oh,
that would be so Eric Stoltz, man. Every time I look at Eric Stoltz and these Back to the Future pictures, it throws me off.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, we were this close to having Eric Stoltz.
Because wasn't he like late or wasn't it just not working out?
It didn't work out. Like Robert Zemeckis and Steven Spielberg looked at him and was like, this is not it, man.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't get Michael J. Fox at first because at the time he was doing his show, not Growing Pains, but
I remember. Yeah, he had a show.
Yeah, he was doing his show at the time. So they were like, "Can we please get this guy to do this movie?" And they kept turning him down and down and down. And he was like, "Okay, you can get him, but he'll only be able to do it, these certain amount of times, and you also have to make sure you get him back for doing other things." So I was like, family ties. He was doing family ties at the time. So they were like, you can only have him for this amount of time.
I see. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Didn't know that part.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Just Back to the Future. Great film.
Oh, yeah. Love that film, man.
Well, I guess that's everything.
Where you going now? Back to the future?
No. Already been there. Your future is whatever you make it. For making a good one.
James, apparently we have breaking news from Joel himself.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm going to call him back because he said he had some information for us.
Hello?
Hey.
Hey, yeah, I was just saying, I heard something crazy, and I was like, oh, I got to share this with Jacob and James.
Okay.
It's got a little bit to do with you guys talking about movies and stuff.
Okay, well, you're live on the podcast right now. We're recording, so what do you got? What's the breaking news?
So you know about how they're doing the secret levels.
Yeah.
Little short that's going to be on Amazon.
Right. I think we talked about it last week.
So a lot of it has been them contacting companies going, hey, what can we use? And they're like, hey, you can use Gears of War. You got a war. You can do this. You can do that. Well, there was a new game Sony put out called Concord. I don't know if you've heard about the debacle with that.
No,
I've never heard of it.
I know it's like a shooter or something. I saw an article about it yesterday or something.
Well, it's only been out for 2 weeks, and they've already canceled the game. It is apparently done worse than Suicide Squad.
Well, that sucks.
The problem is Amazon has a whole episode in Secret Level dedicated to a game that essentially no longer exists anymore.
Oof.
I don't see that as like that.
Think
big a
about
deal.
that.
I mean, I don't know.
It's not a big deal for now.
Yeah.
But you definitely can't see it anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
you can't show it anymore.
Because I mean, they're doing a bunch of other video games, right? So,
and it's also how much money they
it
off into it too.
Well, it's supposed to be like, hey, this is IP that people recognize, and this, that, the other. And here they are they're going to have basically an episode about a game that nobody's going to know anything about.
No longer exists.
And I thought that was kind of insane. Well, and it's the crazy thing of they spent. Well, I think it was pretty nuts because like they spent hundreds of $millions on this game, advertising it. It was supposed to be the next big deal, and literally, I think they have a total player base of like 25 people.
Oof.
I mean, for one, I've never heard
any
advertising for it, so.
I never heard the advertising for it, but like I say,
the marketing push for it might not have been big enough for it to really make a splash.
No, they were advertising. I've seen stuff on YouTube. I've seen stuff on like other channels and different things where they've really been pushing advertising for it. But I think it was one of those. Even doing a whole episode in Secret Level was kind of like them being on like, hey, we're going to be better than Overwatch. We're going to be bigger than name Fortnite. It's like, ooh, you guys missed the mark big time.
That feels pretty ambitious for a new game to do.
That's ballsy.
Like, we're gonna be bigger than these games that have been out for years already.
Yeah, it's pretty
is your game any different from them? Not really, but like, it's a little different.
Well, one of the other big things too was they decided to make it. It essentially should have been a free to play game, but they decided to add, I think, a price tag of $50
online
just to play essentially an online multiplayer game. Well, that was one of the big things that really killed it.
Well, that's the problem with a bunch of games that are coming out nowadays, right? Because like, I mean, Suicide Squad didn't have that issue too bad, but like Skull and Bones, the pirate game, like you got to be online to play it.
Gotham Knights.
Gotham Knights is also offline, but you're right, they kind of had that same format.
Yeah.
Helldivers is an online only like required game, but Helldivers worked really well. But like I wouldn't play it. Yeah, because I just don't want to play for the online capabilities. Like, there's no offline play to it. And then, like, there's a bunch of these bigger games coming out that are like, not only do you have to spend $70 on the game,
I think it's trash.
Right? Not only do you have to spend $70 on the game, but you also have to pay $15 or however many dollars a month to play it online. So I'm already at start investing almost $100 into a game.
That's trash.
Yeah,
I hate it.
I think it's two things. I think it's kind of showing that, in some ways, kind of the shift for the online games only.
Right.
Well, and I've told you this before that Britain has they have a whole thing where if you get so many signatures, they will look into making something a law, and they already have over 1 million signatures to basically make it impossible for video game companies to kill games. So, like with this example with Concord, where there are people who bought the game. If they actually implemented that law, Sony will be responsible for making sure that the game stays active, stays up, since especially things are going so much towards digital media only.
Right.
I mean, you see this with movies on like Amazon and other channels. You pay money for a movie, and then 2 years later, Amazon goes, well, we don't care that movie anymore. But you still spent money on it.
Even I think like PlayStation, because PlayStation also has a thing where you can buy movies, and that was another thing. Like they lost the rights to a couple movies, and people were like, oh, so we just don't have the movie anymore. I spent like $15 on this.
Lost media.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why so many people are pushing towards you need to have a physical copy, or even if there is a physical copy, they just shut down the servers and no more playing the game.
Yeah.
And that's why Britain is pushing this law, and I actually hope that the U.S. would do something like this. Of like, hey, you made the game, you need to stay alive.
Yep.
Right.
And also, it goes back to there were people who worked hard making this game. artists, voice actors, game designers who put a lot of heart and soul into these games. Where you just go like, it didn't make the money that we want anymore, so we're just gonna throw it in the trash and pretend like it never existed.
Well, that's why also too. I think we're heading towards what you call that? I think we had the actor strike.
Yeah,
people totally forgot about the video game strike too. That's coming too.
Well, I think it's kind of going on now.
Oh, it's going on now.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
There's like a
I knew it was coming.
Video game actor strike.
Yeah,
I think it's for like the voice actors and stuff because like with AI and whatnot coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, Amazon. I can't remember if it was Amazon or who it was that they. It was one of them that they got in a lot of trouble because they're going to start making, and it could be Amazon, but they're going to start making video games, and they made some statement of like, "Hey, we're really excited. We won't be using voice actors, or we won't have any voice actors for it." And I think it was just a mistranslation. I think what they meant is they won't have any like readily on staff or like contracts with them. It'll just be like, hey, we hired them. They did a job. They're gone.
Right.
Where other companies, somebody's locked in to working for them for years.
Right.
Doing multiple different roles and stuff. I think that's what Amazon was trying to say. Like, hey, we do a lot of freelancing.
Right. Like we just hire
a lot of freelancing. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. Like we just hire people for a gig, and then once they're done, they're done. We don't keep people on retainer or contracts.
Yeah, but people kind of freaked out and was like, they're using AI for voice acting.
Yeah.
When does it end?
Yeah. Well, that's a scary
they
thing.
They
right
need to unionize now.
Yeah. Yeah, I see it right here with Vice. Voice actors say union's ethical AI deal was bad for humans. That was like in January, but yeah, I mean that's a big deal for voice actors right now. Anyways, like the whole AI scare, because it's like, all right, well, AI's coming up. People are using these AI voices, but what's to protect us from getting jobs and not getting ousted by AI?
Very true.
Well, what you're seeing right now, even with Hollywood, where they're buying the rights to people, like that was a big thing with a lot of people who are extras.
Yeah,
they would get paid for like $500 to do a role, and then they would just fire them, and they were like, "Hey, we now have the rights to using you for anything and everything."
Yeah, well, that was the big catalyst.
People would freak out.
Yeah, that was the big catalyst to the actor strike last year.
Yeah,
was the AI extras,
which I still don't think is fully solidified yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no one's really talking about.
Well, the whole deal was they had a secret thing they put in the contract, which is like with any movie. Yeah. You do a role, something happens, you can't come back. They'll CGI you in, or they'll use AI or whatever to, for your voice. Even though you're still in the movie, you're still getting paid for being in the movie, and you still have actual physical parts in there. There's a lot of times stuff where like actors can't always be there. Sean Bean in The Lord of the Rings, I think there was a bunch of scenes that he wasn't even actually in. They just used a body double.
Yeah.
And even he was like watching the movie, like, I don't remember doing that scene.
Yeah. Well, I mean, normally what it is like they do reshoots, and sometimes people can come back for it, sometimes they can't. That's why they also do ADR. Right? That's also why they get people to like record voice lines in studios afterwards, because it's like, oh, you can't make it. Well, just record a voice, or they'll get a voice actor that sounds similar. Like they'll pay a voice actor that sounds similar to them to just do some lines.
Yeah, that's kind of what Zack Snyder did for that Justice League movie. He had to finish up.
Yeah, with the Green Lantern scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, what, he filmed that in like a garage or something?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, even like actors die, so they have things in contracts of like, hey, to keep this movie from not happening at all, like we're just gonna CGI you in there. I think Gladiator, the guy who plays his owner or whatever, the person who bought him and is training the main guy, he actually died, I think, a third of the way shooting, and so a lot of his scenes towards the end of the movie are actually CGI'd in.
Huh.
Because they're like, hey, he kind of he didn't have a big part, but he did have some crucial scenes in the movie, and we still kind of need him. He's dead, so we got to figure out how to do this. So that happens, but then they're doing that now with a lot of these extras, where they're like, hey, we have you in this one scene, and then now we can just CGI you in for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And the people are like, whoa, what?
Yeah, like, we didn't agree to this. Like, well, technically you did when you signed.
Well,
when you signed the contract.
Well, you see him even doing it during COVID. A lot of people don't talk about that, but doing a lot of those reality shows, or like America's Got Talent or whatever type of shows, competitions.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times they actually CG'd in audience members.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's something, or they would just use stock footage. But like you think about like those audience members aren't getting paid for that, or or getting any credit or this, that, and the other. Right. I mean, most of them are sitting there for free, but still, imagine you're like, well, I don't remember being there last year for that.
Yeah,
there's a picture of me.
Right, because I mean, they just superimpose them from like a previous episode or whatever, probably. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, so it's nothing new. Hollywood's always done. Hollywood's always done weird stuff like that, but it's still kind of like, where people are noticing it a lot more.
Yeah, well, I mean,
we didn't realize how shady Hollywood is.
Yeah, well, I mean, especially now with like all the AI stuff coming out, I think people are a little bit more keen on paying attention to it. And I think I made the comment, we were talking about something like last week or the week before on one of these episodes about how, the good thing is AI is at a point to where it's getting better, but it's still noticeable, and everyone calls it out as soon as they see it. Mm-hmm. Like as soon as like some weird janky looking thing comes out, or like if a song comes out and it's got like a certain tone, people are like, yeah, that's AI. So
I think one of the biggest things with AI, and I don't think it'll ever get to that point where it'll be, on a level where we can't tell the difference, is it's the little things.
Yeah.
Like eyes, hands. I joke, it's the stuff that like artists have always struggled with, just humans in general.
Right.
Most of the times when they would do portraits, you would actually hire another guy just to do the hands and feet.
Right.
Because artists are terrible with it.
Right.
And it's kind of the same thing where the rest of it will look clean, but then like the hands will look weird. Or the eyes will look weird, or the ears will look weird.
Right.
Because you're like, yeah, that's the things that normal humans have trouble with.
Yeah. Or even with the voice, the AI voiceover stuff, like the way it talks still isn't natural. Like it doesn't have the natural inflections that a human would have. It's still kind of like robotic and stiff in a way.
Well, it's almost like anybody. It's like anybody who learns a foreign language for the first time.
Yeah.
Everybody will tell you that when you learn a foreign language, there's a lot of slang and stuff used that when you're learning a language, they never teach you.
Right.
So when you're talking to people, you're like, hello, good sir, how are you today? Nobody actually talks like that. No one actually talks like that in the foreign language.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're just like, sup.
Yeah.
Hey.
There's not,
I think there was
naturalness to it.
Yeah, I think in the Chinese New Year, we're all like, have a happy New Year. They actually have like a certain phrase, and the phrase means, I hope you get rich. And that's like the thing that they say to people all the time. And they're like, yeah, it actually translates to, I hope you get stupid rich.
That's funny.
And it's actually considered disrespectful if you don't say, I hope you get stupid rich to somebody, and you say something dumb like, Happy New Year. They're like, don't you want me to be filthy rich? What do you mean, Happy New Year?
I don't just want to be happy. I want to be rich.
But then that goes back to like, you have to understand the culture and all the little subtle things with it.
Right. All right. Well,
but I'm going to let you guys go.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you later. I just thought I would share that funny bit for you.
Jolie.
See ya. So we'll talk to you later. Thanks for the breaking news, Joel.
All right, Jolie.
On the Gold Podcast
with Jacob and James.
It's freaking rad, brother.
Rad.
Beetlejuice 2 comes out this week.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, obviously, they're doing the marketing thing. We talked about Michael Keaton and talking about Batgirl, I think, a couple weeks ago while he was doing some marketing stuff for it. Yeah. Well, they interviewed Jenna Ortega recently, I think with MTV or Rolling Stone or somebody like that. And, she was talking about how she's still adjusting to fame because she's only been, like, super famous for a couple of years and all this stuff. And I think she was doing one interview where they asked her, like, oh, if you could reprise one of your characters, who would it be? And she actually says she wanted to, like, do the girl from X again, like her character in X.
Oh, okay, I got you.
Because she's like, oh, if you watch that movie, I just kind of get shot in the face. But she's like, I would kind of actually like to see a movie about her and see her backstory and how she ended up with these people making this porn film. Not like seriously, not like she's pushing for the movie seriously, right? She's like, oh, if I had to answer. Well, she was doing another interview, or I think in the same interview where she mentioned she's like adjusting to fame. The MTV guy had asked her, like, oh, would you ever be in another like Tim Burton film? Would you ever do like a Edith Scissorhands? And you might have seen the headline before where it was like, Jenna Ortega doesn't think we need a Jamie Bond or a female Bond. We need more female characters. That's the headline, right? Yeah. It's like Jenna Ortega wants more female characters in movies or whatever. That's where this comes from. So she's doing this interview with this guy from MTV. He asked her a really dumb question. Really dumb interview question, like, would you ever be Edith Scissorhands? And then Jenna Ortega was like, why would I want to be the girl counterpart to Edward Scissorhands? You know, she's
Just be your own person.
Yeah, it says during the MTV interview, Josh Horowitz asked Ortega if she'd consider playing Edith Scissorhands if there was a gender-flipped version of the Johnny Depp classic. Ortega instead offered that women should get their own thing. Was really it, right? She was just like, no, I don't think I need to play a gender-swapped character. Like, just we should make original characters.
Yeah, she's right.
It's a weird question considering her character in Beetlejuice is a new character.
Yeah, it's a new character.
She's not playing a gender-swapped Beetlejuice or anything. Like, she's playing the daughter of the original woman.
Well, I think the reason why you probably asked that is because we do live in a society where everything is gender-swapped.
Things are getting,
Yeah,
right.
And I think that's why he I don't think he made any malice about it. I think I understood what he was talking about. It just didn't come out the right way. He probably could have answered it a little bit more better than that. Asked that question a little bit better.
Yeah. No, I think you have a good point. And I mean, I don't think she really meant any malice by the answer either.
She didn't mean any malice either.
But like, then you see these headlines come out and they're like, oh, like Jenna Ortega thinks this. And, you know, people are obviously reacting the way people would react. And,
yeah, as usual.
You know, and it's just like, I don't think this is what it is. It's one of those annoying things where these actors get interviewed and then they answer a question and all of a sudden it gets blown out of proportion.
Well, that's how it is when you're doing press. Whenever you're doing press for a movie, you get asked questions, especially when it's high profile movies like Tim Burton movies or any other type of movie, Batman or Superman. You get asked these high pressured questions and you don't really have time to react like the way you want to have a well thought out answer. So you have to give an answer right then and there.
Right.
You know.
Or maybe you're tired of being interviewed. So
maybe you're tired too.
So you just come up with a dumb answer because you just feel like everything's dumb right now.
Yeah.
You know?
Not everybody can be like Denzel Washington and have
amazing advice
and give a good question.
Yeah.
I mean, give a good answer right there on the spot.
Just some wise thing he says, some like story.
You know, not everybody can be like him.
Yeah. But regardless of the interviews and all that aside, Beetlejuice looks like it's going to be making about $100 million on its opening weekend.
I could see that, yeah.
Because, I mean, I haven't really seen too many early reviews on it, but
I've seen a couple.
The overall reception seems pretty positive.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, the clips I see of the movie seem really great. I've been watching a couple clips just to kind of get an idea of what this movie's about, because the good thing is it's a sequel, but it's not like your typical nostalgic sequel. It's not the same plot again.
Yeah.
And that's what has me interested.
Barbara and Adam are not in this one.
Yeah, Barbara and Adam aren't in it. They're going to the afterlife. We're getting completely new characters. We're probably getting more insight to like Beetlejuice as a character because he's only in 17 minutes of the first movie.
Yeah.
You know, he's not really a big character in his own movie. Mm-hmm. And he's portrayed as a villain. But, you know, people had made the comments that... Because I guess there's a scene in the new movie where Lydia's like, are you going to keep her promises? And I was like looking at some YouTube videos and people in the comments were like, yeah, you know, it's funny she says that, but she's the one who broke all the promises. Like Beetlejuice actually kept his word in the first movie. Like she's the one who didn't marry him and she's the one who didn't like try to backstab him and all this stuff. Like, yeah, he was going to cause chaos, but you know, she did when he wanted.
True.
So I thought that was like a neat little insight because, again, he's portrayed as a villain in the first one, but in this one, he seems kind of like, I mean, he's probably still an antagonist.
Probably like anti.
Yeah, like an anti-hero kind of character in this one, but I don't know. I'm overall excited for it. I mean, I hope it does good money and, you know, hopefully it's not just like a big nostalgia fest like Ghostbusters Frozen Empire kind of was. Or even Alien. Alien was a big nostalgia fest when you think about it.
I'm hoping not, but... If it's on track like I think it is, it probably will be. But if you do it right, I don't have a problem with it. You just got to do it right.
Yeah. And I mean, I think they got it right. I want to hope they got it right.
Yeah, there you go.
On the Go podcast with Jacob and James.
It's decent.
All right, so we're going to be in the trailer park for a little bit, James, because the Minecraft trailer came out. And I don't know what you know about Minecraft.
Never played it.
All right, well, it's an open source game. There's all these kind of servers. You can go to your own world and you can build and create kind of whatever you want. You have to get resources and stuff to do that. But for the most part, that is what it is. And It's been been around for a while. I'd say probably like 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer than that, because it was in beta for a long time. And then I think it finally got released, like, officially. Everything's made out of blocks. Everything's all blocky. And they decided to make a movie on it with Jack Black and Jason Momoa. And I think...
It's another star in there, too. I think it's Danielle.
She's from Orange is the New Black.
Yep.
I can't think of her name.
She also was in Peacemaker.
Yeah.
Peacemaker is Amanda Waller's daughter.
Yeah, you are very correct on that. And then there's another girl that I don't recognize at all. But the trailer came out, and everyone's kind of reaction is, this is a fever dream.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I've seen it.
But I don't know what to make of this. I mean, on one hand, it's supposed to be a kids movie.
It's Jumanji, man.
That's what it felt like, right?
Just Jumanji.
It feels like Jumanji. It looks like they're going the Jumanji route because I feel like Jack Black is just going to be like, I got stuck here.
Yeah.
And I mean, Jack Black really just didn't want to cut that beard because I think that's what bothered me the most, honestly, is the fact that he's just like full wild bushy beard that looks hideous. And I was like, wow, they didn't ask you to cut that at all, did they? Like,
from looks of it, like they got everything right. It's just it's just the typical fish out of water. Me watching the movie, me in the game from a human perspective.
Right,
they're doing that whole thing as usual. It's like I say, it's typical. It's typical.
Yeah, I mean,
by the numbers movie.
Video game movies are kind of taking a hit recently.
Oh yeah, you would, when they first said they were making a Minecraft movie, I was like, okay,
yeah.
Because
like I said, it's kind of like an open source game to where anything and everything can happen. Like, how are you going to condense that down into a movie?
Yeah. Now look, Legos, they were able to make that successful.
They were.
They were able to do a Lego movie and make it successful.
But the thing is, like, Legos are classic though.
True.
And Legos, I mean, like Minecraft, you can kind of do whatever you want with them. So potentially, Minecraft could be good. I think the issue you run into with this movie is you did the live action animated mix. You mixed them together, and you probably should have just did animated characters to begin, because the animated portions of the movie look great.
Yeah,
it looked like everything animated around them looks great, but like the humans in the movie, it's just like, oh, you guys just played around on a green screen all day.
It looks like Mario Brothers.
Yeah,
if you did Mario Brothers in live action.
Yeah, like the original,
right?
from
1994.
Yeah, so
that's basically what you did.
Yeah, so I don't know. Well, I don't really plan on watching it.
I'm not watching.
I don't know how much money it's really gonna make.
And I mean, it could make $1 billion.
It could, but off the back of like Borderlands, how Borderlands was kind of a flop, and obviously nobody who made that movie really cared about it.
It just goes to show you how much when you do these movies, you really got to put some creative thought into it.
You do.
Last week you just had a whole trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog that looked amazing.
Yeah, and you know what? Sonic is a great example, because the very first trailer for the very first movie they put out, Sonic looked horrible.
It looked horrible.
Everyone reacted, and the studio was like, you know what, we hear you. We're going to push it back 6 months. We're going to give you a real Sonic. And that's what they did. And that's what helped that franchise grow.
But it also helped that the story was good.
And the story was very good, yes. Now, I mean, could they have done that on purpose to generate interest? Potentially, but that's a conspiracy theory for another day. But they did it right. They made sure to get the story right, and they listened to what the audience said, and they got the characters right. Minecraft, for the most part, looks like it gets the characters right outside of the actual human-looking people in this movie. So if the story is good, it could make a lot of money.
Could,
but we'll see. It's very very sketchy. So, and there was another movie trailer, a new movie trailer called Night Bitch. I don't know if you've seen this trailer, James.
Yeah, I've seen it already.
Yeah, but apparently it's like a stay-at-home mom that turns into a dog, Shaggy Dog style.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna be a slasher, but it seems to be not a slasher.
No.
So
the title is what the movie is.
Yeah, at night she turns into a dog, and I'm assuming the other moms that she is friends with in this trailer turn into dogs as well.
It's a very niche movie.
Very niche.
One of those movies from like back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Where they have like these, they were like these movies they used to put out where they were about these different, you have these animal-like type movies. They were indie indie horror movies.
Well, it's also, I don't even know if this is a horror movie, though. I thought it was. I thought it was going to be like a slasher, werewolfy type movie, but it doesn't. It seems like a finding yourself movie. And obviously, you and I are not the target audience for this.
Obviously.
It's going to be moms or stay-at-home moms or just like, women who have children who feel overwhelmed. Is the exact target for this film. That's not a bad thing. Good for them for getting a movie that they can potentially relate to, right? Representation matters, and that's all well and good. But just like an interesting take on a movie, I suppose. Just like, okay, she turns into a dog.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting at best.
Yeah.
It's an interesting title.
Right? Well, that's why I thought it was a horror movie.
Yeah.
Because I think there was a horror movie with that same name, or like a slasher.
Yeah. Heard of it. I didn't know that.
I think so. I think that's like an older film. I could be wrong. I could be entirely wrong about that. Let me see. But, it stars Amy Adams, I should say.
Yeah,
Amy Adams is in this movie. And people in the comments were just like, oh, Amy Adams really looks different in this film. And blah,
I know.
blah,
They're
blah,
talking
blah.
about her size and stuff.
Yeah, but apparently she had put on like 12 to 15 pounds for the movie. As actors do.
Yeah.
Actors put on muscle, lose muscle, gain weight, lose weight.
I'm sorry, she's not putting on a steroided muscle to play a superhero.
And people are like, you realize like she played Lois Lane like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
I know
people also just age in general. Also, she's playing like a tired mom. Is she gonna look super hot in the film?
She's not supposed to look like a model.
Yeah.
Damn, man.
So it's just funny how the unhinged comments always get me. Like when you look at stuff and you see like people commenting like random things, it's just like, wow, you really thought
that's humans for you.
Really thought this was a thing. This segment sponsored by
the people against vegetarians eating plants. Save the grass, eat some ass.
That's it. That's it for the Trailer Park. That's kind of all I got for today. You got any piece of news or anything you want to leave us with?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Jeff Snyder, Insider.
Inside man.
He reported that James Brolin is in talks to play Green Lantern. And the
Josh Brolin.
Yeah. John Brolin. I mean, no, Josh Brolin. Josh Brolin. Yeah, Josh Brolin.
Thanos. Josh, John, and James.
Thanos himself. And
yeah, I saw that.
He's been rumored to play the role's been offered to him, but he hasn't accepted yet. And there's also 3 other guys just in case he says no. And it's Matthew McConaughey, Chris Pine, Ewan McGregor. And I know some people are like, why would you want to choose somebody old to play Hal Jordan? But I mean, they're going with kind of like that old school style of Lethal Weapon. You got a young man, and you got an old guy. So
the Superman movie is going to have Guy Gardner in it.
Yeah, Guy Gardner's going to be in there.
So Guy Gardner kind of comes in way after Hal does at some point.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see an older Hal Jordan. I don't know how I feel about Matthew McConaughey being a pick.
I don't know about that one.
I don't even know how I feel about Chris Pine being a pick.
I can see that more.
I can see Chris Pine.
Yeah.
I can see it. But I don't know if I'd really want that. Ewan McGregor, he's kind of an oddball choice as well.
Yeah. And Josh Brolin is definitely an oddball choice.
He's way out there. I don't know. That feels like some animosity towards Marvel. Just like, I got Thanos to be in my film.
He did. He was in the DCU before.
Yeah.
Before it was DCU. He played what's my guy name? God dog it, I forgot his name. He played a Western. It was a Western.
Jonah Hex?
Jonah Hex.
Was he Jonah Hex?
Yeah. What? He played Jonah Hex, and that was about it. That was like his last stint in the DCU. But it wasn't DCU then, it was just DC.
Yeah, it was just DC.
And, of course, Marvel, Thanos, and then he also did Cable.
So, yeah, he did Cable.
He's used to playing these type of roles. I just don't see him as a Hal Jordan.
I can kind of see him as a Hal Jordan, like.
So you can
post the Parallax story arc.
Well, you know what? That's what somebody else said in the comments. They were like, "This must be like post Parallax."
Yeah, because he does. After that, he does have like the grayer hair and all that stuff. So I can see that. I can see him being older, Hal Jordan, and they add that to the lore of like James Gunn's DC.
And then that's when
universe.
you introduce James Stewart. Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart. Yeah, you have Jon Stewart, you have Guy Gardner, and then it's like, yeah, Hal Jordan's around, but we kind of shun him because he destroyed Oa, becoming Parallax or whatever. Like, you could already have him be established and like he already had his downfall.
Yeah,
but then again, I would like to see that in the movie. Is like him becoming
this is
Parallax
gonna be a TV show. Because remember, this is gonna be a TV show.
Oh, it's a TV show.
It's gonna be one of the most high budget TV shows they've had. Where basically they protect the universe.
Yeah.
Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan have to work together, uncover a mystery.
I see.
That's gonna probably lead to the bigger DCU.
Yeah.
The bigger DCU thing. So yeah, man, that's crazy. You know what? I like to see who's gonna play Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
Once we see who's in the running to play Jon Stewart, you can kind of compare. Like, could you see these two match up together?
Yeah,
their chemistry.
That's true.
Because you definitely got to have chemistry, whoever you have.
Yeah, right.
That's important.
Yeah, you got to be able to work off each other because also they all have very different personalities.
They do.
Like Guy Gardner is like a hothead.
Yep.
Jon Stewart is more like military.
Mm-hmm.
Hal Jordan is. What is Hal Jordan? He's also
He's
military.
arrogant.
He's Air Force.
He's definitely arrogant.
Arrogant. Yeah.
He definitely likes to do things his way.
Okay.
He's
kind of like a maverick.
ladies' man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maverick. That's perfect.
And then if they ever do Kyle Rayner, who I think is like most people's favorite, like Green Lantern.
That's mine too.
He's like the more artistic one. So yeah, you definitely need to be able to have like these different personalities and also be able to like work off each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
I thought that was some cool news.
It is a cool bit of news. I saw it the other day and I totally forgot to like write it down in my notes when I was like building up what I was going to talk about. But I'm glad you brought it up because that is a good big piece of news to cover.
And it's Jeff Snyder. It's not like it's like Joe Blow off the internet.
Yeah, you're right. It's not.
Jeff Snyder's he's pretty connected.
Cool. I'm glad you brought that up.
Oh yeah.
But I think without further ado, that's all we got today.
That's all we got.
We blew all the news. We blew all of the topics. We had a random phone call interview with Joel.
That is true.
Surprise guest today. Look at that, guys. You never know what's going to happen on the On The Go show. So, hey, if you want to email us, you can email us at onthegopod2023@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram. It's On The Go with Jacob and James. It's all one word. You can find James on Instagram at
James9794.
You can find me on Instagram at jacobdantone.audio. And you can find us on YouTube, On The Go with Jacob and James. Again, all one word. Like, subscribe, follow us, do all the things you need to do to keep us around. We got episodes coming out every Monday and Friday, and potentially some new shows coming out pretty soon. So, without further ado, I'm on the go. James is on the go. Everyone's on the go.